Hey girls, Maria Menounos here, author of the Every Girl's Guide to Life. Want to know my best tips and secrets for organization, travel, weight loss, beauty, fashion, and everything else in between? Go to bing.com/Maria and pick up my new book, The Every Girl's Guide to Life.
You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, and streaming live on Ustream, this is AfterBuzz TV for Game of Thrones. Tonight's host is Bethany Jaber. Joining Bethany will be AfterBuzz co-hosts Nathan Hertz, Curtis Taylor, and Sara Stretton. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest Game of Thrones news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, picking up where the show leaves off and the buzz continues, Bethany Jaber!
Why, hello there! Nathan and Curtis are not with us this evening, but do not fear, because Sara and Bethany are here, and we are going to cover Game of Thrones Season 1, Episode 4, Cripples and Broken Things.
It's a really intense title.
I love it. I think I like it because I like broken things, and I like it.
There was actually another word in there that we just didn't place in there, but it's crippled, bastards, and broken things.
Oh, that changes things. That it's not. I think the bastards makes it a little bit romantic, right?
A little, especially Mother's Day.
Yeah.
No mother today.
But I like broken things, and I like abandoned things, and in Game of Thrones, bastards are definitely things that are abandoned. So it's an appropriate title.
It touches your heart a little bit.
Just a little bit. We learn a little bit about Lord Snow's morality, so to speak. We kind of find out, what kind of person he is. And he's I find it sexy, honestly. And then we move over to as Lord Stark does some detective work. This was our detective Lord Stark episode.
Yeah, he's searching for the truth.
Like CSI, but in some made up land. Kaliri, am I saying her name right? Kaliri?
Her title is Khaleesi.
Khaleesi.
Yeah, and then her real name is Daenerys.
Khaleesi, she has a bit of a confrontation with her brother in this episode. And is that I feel like no, and then Lady Stark in the end, but that doesn't round out to the end. I almost feel like, which one should we start with?
I mean, I think we should start with Lord Snow at the Wall, and definitely he's kind of changing up there. The cold is changing him. Last week we saw him, only fighting for himself.
Yeah.
And being like, I can kick everyone's butt up here with my sword skills. And then he kind of learns a lesson. And this week we see him defend this new guy. So it's really about he's changing, and it seems to be for the good. But
yeah, Sam comes into the picture, and. And we see the headmaster egging the other guys on, go for it, get him. And Lord Snow steps in there and he's like, no, that's not okay. And then we find out through this odd power struggle who really has control over that group. Maybe I'm jumping ahead of myself a little there, but later on, cut to, we see Sam and Lord Snow up at the wall. And we find more out about Sam, which is even though he is of nobility fully, he's not a bastard. His father doesn't want anything to do with him and was threatening to kill him.
Yep, quite blankly. And he's a very, very large guy who's just says that he himself is a coward.
Yeah.
We see people beating up on him. He doesn't defend himself at all. He just shrieks and cries and falls to the ground. And I think we're going to see Snow kind of motivate him to try and do more, because he's been so Sam has been so convinced by his father that he's worthless that he wasn't even trying anything.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that he will.
Yeah, I agree. I'm hoping that. Sorry, I just interrupted
I'm-
you, but I'm hoping that we find out what Sam's his like true ability. If he was a superhero, like something needs to happen, right? Like
That he can do.
Yeah, we just don't know what it is yet.
Who knows? He's gonna have some like fascinating skill about like cooking, or who knows?
Like he'll like be able to like throw big rocks at people, or maybe he'll be like really smart and build a gun. I now we're getting into predictions, but yeah, Sam needs to. Hopefully, they'll have him step up a little bit.
I think so. And then there was another thing I wanted to note about Lord Snow and that whole confrontation when the trainer comes in. I think the trainer also made a very valid point. He was saying that all the guys had to beat up on Sam because they needed to make him into a man, or else they'd all end up dying.
Yeah.
And he gives some really gruesome details about how during winter they have to not only eat their horses, but end up eating their fellow men that fall.
It's an intense monologue. It really is.
It was really scary. We saw when Snow came to the wall that it wasn't at all what he expected.
Mm-hmm.
He was faced with all these criminals and all these guys who weren't trained soldiers, weren't trained to do really anything.
Yeah.
And he was expecting all these noble men standing up to save the world. And now, even more than that, it's just like reality check after reality check. First, it's you're not up here with qualified people. Then there's not enough people. Then guess what? You're going to end up eating some of the people that are here. It's just, I can't even imagine what this wall is just being portrayed as literal death. It's awful. I haven't found one good part of being at that wall.
Of being at that wall. Well, there's nowhere else for them to go, I guess. I guess that's the idea. And they're what I thought was interesting was the general who came in. He goes, "Do you remember the last winter?" And he said, "It has been 10 years since the last winter."
Mm-hmm.
So they were just children during it. So they really don't know what they're in for. But he definitely got that point across.
And I think they made a definite point that even if you had been through a winter at the wall is nothing like it is anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like he was mocking them for being cold,
by
but
fire.
But we're going to see way, way worse coming up over there.
I think so. Can we jump over to Lord Stark's investigating? Because I'm just really curious about this.
Yeah, of course.
There was that beautiful scene with him and Lady Catherine's friend. Do you remember Cat?
Oh, Peter?
Yes, Peter. And I think it has to be my favorite scene thus far in the series because they're doing this walk and talk, and he's like, "Do you see that person over there? Yeah, that person's with the queen. Do you see that person over there? We're reading that book. She's with me."
Yeah.
And he, Lord Stark is looking for, like, basically who killed Lord John Arryn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I feel when they're doing that walk and talk, he's like, if you just leak a little bit of information, you can find out like where it's going and who's getting it. And cut to later on when he's sitting there with Lord Stark's daughter in the match.
Mm-hmm.
He leaks a little story, just like a little story. Of the Mountain and the Hound. Was that the story?
Yes, the Mountain and the Hound, who are two brothers, both completely menacing looking. Mm-hmm. Like, when we were first introduced to the Hound, he's just, like, he's this gruff-looking man that you just feel will kill anyone the moment they offend him.
Yeah.
And now we're meeting his brother, who's even bigger and more scary. Like, this guy's on top. We see him on top of a horse, and he was literally, like, the same size as a horse. Yeah. I was like, oh, poor animal. And the story that he leaked was basically about how the older brother, whose nickname is the Mountain, actually was the one who burned his own brother's face.
On some coals. For
stealing a toy or playing with a toy. Like, so, and he's telling this to Sansa, who is this little girly girl, and you can just see all this fear in her eyes. And he ends the story with saying, and if you tell anyone this, he's going to kill you.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And I felt, and maybe I'm wrong, but I felt that he was telling her that story to see if she was going to leak information. Maybe I'm like so far off. You're reading the book. Is there any other reason why he told her that story?
I actually am not to that point yet.
Okay.
So that was completely all new. It's very funny because the book is a little bit on a different order than the series. Like not far off, but it'll be interesting because I'll read one thing and then I'll stop because I don't want to get too far ahead of myself.
Yeah.
But there'll be scenes that haven't happened and they kind of skip around just to get all the information in. But so I haven't gotten there yet. I'm still at the whole, I just read about Viserys and Daenerys fight.
Okay.
And it's also a little different in the book. So it's really
Is it?
interesting. It's a little different how they do that. But going back to Peter and his spying and Lord Stark's spying, it's really, really devious and interesting how they all have these little spies, and we see Lord Stark think he has someone.
Yeah.
So he thinks he has this guy who's the head of his guard. He thinks he can trust him completely.
Oh my God. I know. That was awful. I was watching that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And so he gives this one man that he thinks he can trust with everything a very special note that he's supposed to deliver to the king personally.
And we're assuming as the audience that the note says that I found your bastard son.
Yes,
right?
Or something of
something of that nature. You have another child that's out there in the world.
Or something of grave importance.
Yeah.
And so this man has all of Lord Stark's trust. And he goes up to the door, and it turns out that the king is, enjoying many, many whores in his room. And he almost gives Jaime Lannister the note. I was like, oh my gosh, this just shows that you really can't trust anyone because, no one knows the depths of how horrible these people are.
I know.
And I was just sitting there going, please don't hand him the note. Please don't hand him the note.
Yeah.
Luckily, it was Jaime that refused taking the note.
I don't know why he refused it. I guess just because he was at the point where he was doing a horrible job watching the king. He did not enjoy listening to his brother-in-law have sex with lots of women, and so he didn't want to be doing another man's bidding by delivering a note. So clearly his ego was in play, and it was an issue of status.
Completely.
And thank God his ego got in the way.
Or else we would have a bigger meltdown of but it's just so sad for the trust part because Lord Stark says, oh, I think I have one person I can trust. And I'm like, oh, you really can't.
Why are we rooting for Lord Stark? I get confused why I root for him. Do you know why?
I root for him just because when I started the show, he was the first family we saw. And we saw that he has this great family and that he loves all of his children.
With the exception of one. No. Oh.
No, he loves all his children.
Oh, okay.
Catelyn, not so much. She doesn't like Jon Snow, who's the bastard.
Yeah.
But he had these kind of moral values and these he was first presented with these ideals of if you're making the law, then you're the one who does the justice and all these things that seemed very noble.
Yeah.
And so we see him, well, at least I see him as this guy who's always trying to protect his family and his friends, which is why he took Robert's position as the hand, because he wanted to go protect him because he thought he was in danger. So that's why I think I'm rooting for Ned.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it's interesting because I started out also being on Robert's side because I associated the two. But as I'm watching this, I'm getting more and more annoyed with Robert.
Everybody last week was like, what? You don't like Robert? And I was like, no, I don't like him. And Curtis was like, no, just wait. But it's true.
Yeah, I'm siding with you because I liked him. I thought he was a friend. I thought he was this that random uncle guy who might drink a lot, but he's really fun. But he's not. He has this bad side almost where I think we're definitely going to see it more in the next episode with the previews, but he's always messing around. He's never doing anything productive. He doesn't care really about the status of the kingdom. He spends all the money and he's putting all these other people in horrible positions.
Yeah.
And I found myself also more this episode is we saw the Lannisters a little, like they were only in there for some tidbits.
Yeah.
But I did find some reason to understand where they were coming from.
Okay.
Like, Lady Cersei, or Queen Cersei, came in, and she had this really short, weird conversation.
It was weird, the conversation between Lord Stark and her. I don't quite. I'm assuming it's setting up some of the next episode, because I was like, why are you guys even talking? You just had a conversation about nothing. We know you don't like each other.
Yeah, it was very strange. Like, completely.
Weird.
We both looked at each other in the show and we were like, wait, why'd she come in there to talk to him? Did she have something to say?
No. It was basically like, I don't like you. Well, I don't like you either. Yes.
We know who our enemies are. But it did give me a little bit of her perspective, where basically she's just kind of like, she thinks she deserves power. I don't understand that. But at the same time, she's a smart lady, and she's dealing with this husband who I think in her mind is kind of like a useless idiot.
Yeah.
And so she's sitting there like, oh my gosh, I could have such a better kingdom than this, and this is what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, so she's just frustrated. I still don't like her.
Yeah, I don't either.
I still like her worse than I like Robert.
I know.
She's lower on my totem pole.
I agree. It's not. I know it's like voting for president. You're like, who do I like the least? And like, you're trying to figure out. You're like, I almost kind of like you, so I'm gonna go with you.
There we go.
I'm gonna give you my vote.
No, but I did see a little more of like where she's coming from. She's just like, I feel like she's just super annoyed all the time, and she has this really hard exterior. But I think a lot of it's just like, she's like, really, my husband's an idiot and he sleeps with everyone.
He does.
Come on, give me a break.
This is true. In Lord Stark, I mean, he's searching, and at first he doesn't even know what he's searching for. He starts off thinking like, well, that's weird that, Lord John Arryn died so quickly in just one night, and he's talking to like the older Grand Master. And the Grand Master's like, well, I don't think it's that weird. And he's like, well, maybe it was poison. And the Grand Master's like, no, it couldn't have been. He's like, well, poison's I thought it was interesting that he said poison is a woman's weapon. And I thought, a woman's weapon, or somebody who like doesn't necessarily want like.
Well, the Grand Master's response was not only a woman's, but like a bastard's and a thief's.
Yeah.
He like added those two, and I thought, well, that does cover pretty much all the poison bases in my mind.
Pretty much.
And then he continued on his search.
And he was like, oh, well, he was asking for this book. And the book was kind of like a genealogy, no?
It was like a really in-depth family tree. It was like you didn't get the tree, but you got how they died, where they died,
the color of their eyes, their height, maybe. Like, it was, right?
Yeah. It was like a super, super, super in-depth family tree.
Yeah. And at which point we see the next day Peter and Stark having that conversation in the courtyard where he's like, oh, all of these people are watching us, and their ears and eyes are open, so be prepared. And he sends him to this armory. Thank you. And there he finds basically we're led to believe that it's the king's bastard son, but you have a different take.
I have a different take a little. I definitely think that he is Robert's son, but I do not think he is a bastard son.
Yeah.
I'm under the impression that he's actually purebred son. And the reason I say this, I think he is the son of Cersei and Robert, so the king and queen. And the reason, I have a couple reasons for this. One is because John Arryn's dying words were, the seed is strong. Seed in this, world definitely refers to like a child. Like the seed in her stomach. They've said it multiple times. That's one reason. Oh, I think we're cutting out, or I'm cutting out.
Are you? It's you. Yeah, I can still hear.
Jesse in the booth, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You guys sound fine.
Okay, I guess it's just me. I'm going in and out a little bit in my earphones. But I'll continue. So that's my first reason, is this line that Jon Arryn was repeating on his deathbed, that the seed is strong. And then we go to this armory, and this guy is obviously strong and looks like Robert.
Yeah.
That's another reason. My third reason, I guess I have more reasons,
Yeah, I think it's
is
great.
that Cersei told Catelyn a story a couple episodes ago. And in this story, she described how she had a firstborn son who died, and she was like, oh, and he looked so much, he was my little dark baby that looked so much like Robert.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, this completely fits.
Yeah.
She had a son, he looked like Robert, and he mysteriously died, and no one knew about it. Catelyn didn't know about that. And she was like, oh, I had no idea you had a firstborn son. She's like, oh, yeah, I didn't really talk about it. And now this guy pops up who looks like Robert and his son. So that's who I'm thinking is I don't think he's a bastard. I think he's pure blood. And I think the motivation for that comes from Cersei wanting to have a son with her brother and not with Robert. I think she has some very idealistic views about blood and thinks that her children should be pure bloods, which is why she got rid of Robert's son, and why the high prince or little prince or whatever his name is actually going to take the throne.
Because he's so blonde.
He's
and
so
he's so white.
And so blue-eyed, and so her and her brother's son. It's unbelievable.
Wow. I like your theory. I hope this comes true.
That's
I really
my
do.
theory.
And they really tied it up well with the jousting match, because everyone kept saying, well, maybe not everyone, but a few people said, well, isn't it interesting that Lord Jon Arryn's squire was immediately knighted?
Mm-hmm.
And then we see the jousting match in which he is quite violently killed.
Mm-hmm.
That was a little, for me, it's a little grotesque for my taste.
I'm fine with the grotesque.
See, you're okay with it.
I
You're
was
cool.
like the total 300 fan. Could watch that movie over and over again.
God bless you, because I see a little bit of blood, and I'm like, let's just no, I'm fine, no more.
So, but there was blood, because in this jousting match, the joust broke and went through his throat. And it is interesting, because I personally, I think that was intentional.
Oh, it's completely, it's I mean, there's no other way to silence somebody
Than killing them.
and literally piercing their throat. It was definitely intentional to silence him in that way. It was just gross to watch.
I wasn't too.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't the prettiest death, but it was interesting, and I definitely saw that one coming.
Yeah.
But it was funny, because you looked over me and you're like, do they normally joust to the death?
I know. I didn't know. I was like, I feel like, I mean, my experience of jousting matches is probably being 7 years old at a Renaissance fair, or some Disney jousting thing when you are at Epcot and you're like, I'm in England. Oh, look, there's a man and a horse. So
Medieval times.
exactly,
where they have,
that kind of
chicken
thing.
legs.
My memory of medieval times is spectacular. But I think I was such a baby. I mean, we're speaking from somebody who had my memory at 5. I thought it was amazing. I've never been back.
I don't think you should go back. I think you should keep the amazing thought alive.
Because I remember seeing, anytime we'd see something regarding it ever since, I'd be like, oh, there's that place again. And my mom would be like, no, we're not going back there. And I'd be like, but it's so fantastic. So, yeah, I'm going to keep that memory.
Yeah. This show takes medieval times to a little bit of a different level. Okay,
so
we
funny.
talked about Lord Snow, and we talked about Lord Stark.
Mm-hmm.
Should we keep going?
Yeah,
with
let's do it.
The
Khaleesi?
Stark?
Oh, no, there's more. What's the next one?
I was going to say, should we carry on with the Stark family and go to Catelyn's little tidbit in this?
Yeah, let's do that. I like that. I mean, that was I was not expecting that today. Were you?
No, I mean, Catelyn wasn't very much in this episode until the very end scenes where we see her in a tavern. She's obviously hiding who she is. She has this veil type thing over her head, and it's very not the highest class place.
No.
And then all of a sudden, the little imp walks in, causing a ruckus.
After he had been denied at Winterfield, and they wouldn't let him stay there. And he's like, well, you know what? Your lady was much nicer to me and let me stay here the last time. This is ridiculous. And the acting lord is like, nope, sorry, not going to let you stay. And so he's like, well, fine. Can I speak to Bran? And he has like a chart of this chair in which he can ride on. So
he has like a mechanical saddle. So that even though Bran can't use his legs, with his voice and his arms, he'll be able to ride a horse and continue doing something he loves.
It was really thoughtful. And he said that he has a, what was it? What was the exact quote? Like a soft spot in his heart for cripples and broken things.
Yeah, I think that's the title. It was like Cripples, Bastard, and Broken Things.
Yeah. And it was very thoughtful. But he also, the first thing he asked Bran when he came out was, does he remember anything from that night? And the man that was carrying responded, no, sir, he does not. So I thought it was interesting that he's asking. Yeah,
it's a little bit fishy. I mean, we've still not had a clear answer through the show whether or not Tyrion the Imp knew about the alleged
his
assassination.
Sisters and brothers' actions,
and all that. So it's never quite made certain. We do know that the dagger found on the assassin was won by Tyrion in a tournament. But we don't know that it was Tyrion that gave it to him. It could be his brother. It could be his sisters. It's very up in the air. And with this scene, that's it. It was just fishy. Because first he asked, which would imply that he knew something. You know, he's questioning, do you remember, to see if he, like, needs to go forth and like try and kill him again. But then at the same time, he was prepared with a very thoughtful gift, which would hint at something that he cared about the kid and wouldn't go so far as to try and kill him. So it's very interesting. They're definitely keeping that one up in the air about whether or not he knows. My personal feeling is that I don't think he knows. I think he's suspicious because they've made it clear that he is a smart little man. But I don't think he
actually knows that it was his sister and his brother.
And I don't think
he's been away for so long.
And I don't think he was in on the assassination.
I don't know. Honestly, I feel a bit differently. I'm thinking that he does know, but he wasn't in on it. Like his brother and sister communicated that information to him to keep him in the loop, and he'll do anything to protect them. However,
he's kind of weary about going forth. That's why, like, if he's like, oh, he doesn't remember, I don't need to do anything.
I think it's but I think it's good that we have contrasting ideas on it. We'll see what plays out. I'm curious to figure it out. So let's go back to when Kat's what?
I guess we're going back to the same thing.
Yeah, we are to the tavern. So Kat's there, and she's hanging out, and she's like incognito a la Britney Spears at like the Beverly Center or something in the food court.
There we go. Perfect image.
The imp asks for a room, and they deny him again. He's denied a second time, and he seems to fix everything with money because he said, oh, well, maybe there's somebody who would... who
wants to leave.
And somebody takes him up on that. At which point he notices that Lady Catherine is sitting there. And she is very cold to him. Oh my God. I was not expecting a confrontation.
I wasn't either. I mean, this obviously escalates into a huge moment that I'll let you describe, but it was
a call to arms.
Yes. And I thought it was I was like, not okay with it. I thought it was a bad move. Do you want to describe it, or do you want me to?
No. Go right ahead. I agree with you. It was a bad move because, I mean, she's acting impulsively, which gets people in trouble when you act impulsively. And it was not something that she had planned. She didn't know he was going to be there, and all of a sudden she's faced with him, and it's like it's like what we do when we're drunk and we see somebody that we've had a confrontation with. Not that it's ever happened to me, because I'm probably the least confrontational person on the planet, but I've seen it happen with other people.
It definitely happened. And this is one of those moments where he walks in and Lady Catelyn goes, wait, I know all of you men around here. My family's been associated with yours. Stand up and take him because he plotted to kill my son. And that's when it's
all hell breaks loose.
All hell breaks loose. And all these men stand up, swords in hand, pointed directly at Tyrion, and they're ready to take him.
And he looks surprised. I have to say, he looks genuinely surprised. And then I had to think, how many people do you need to take him? Like, did you really? I mean, I don't mean that in a cruel way, but I mean, she could have found a different way to confront him, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I think another reason I think it was a bad move is because in the last episode, we specifically saw her husband say, just go back.
I know.
Don't do anything. We need more proof because we don't have enough, or else we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
And I'm like, your husband's not with you. This is very bad. Like, really bad. You're putting your whole family in danger. You do not have enough proof. I understand that she's very emotional, and as a mother, you have to be really protective over your children. And, she thinks this is the guy who ordered
But she could get her whole family in trouble.
Yes.
Like, everybody could be dead because she's messing with the queen's brother.
Yeah.
And it was a little, I mean, I realize she's kind of a big deal, but
He's a bigger deal.
Kind of.
And he has way more power. Mm-hmm. And it's just a really bad spot, and I'm interested to see where that goes, and I'll leave it for predictions. But Lady Stark, not the best move.
No, not the best move. It was not well played.
All the Starks are all over the place. I mean, you've got one being a detective, one being like...
Yeah, they're kind of losing it. Let's jump over to Khaleesi.
Oh, the Khaleesi.
The Khaleesi. She was amazing today. Mm-hmm. She was so fabulous. There was this really weird scene with her brother and this prostitute. I guess... Well, even before that, like, they're riding and he's complaining. He's like, this is my army. This is mine. And you're like, shut up, dude. But then we get to the scene with, they finally, like, arrive to their, like, partial destination, so to speak. And he's in this tub with this prostitute. And, like, they have this very strange conversation regarding these dragons.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I mean, the prostitute's all about, like, oh my gosh, all I've ever wanted to see is a dragon. Have you seen a dragon? He goes off to tell the story about how the skulls were in the throne room.
And she's so she's completely aroused by it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, is she trying to get information from him with the dragons, or she's just really into dragons?
I don't know. I thought it was really weird. During the course of the scene, I was like, are they going to have, like, a love affair? Is this going to be a continual, like, thing? And then there was a moment where it, like, she's like, oh, it's sad. And he completely flips a switch from him kind of being into it to him being like, oh, I bought you to do this. Now do it. And I was like, okay, really weird. Like, it was 1 minute they were, like, both into it. And the next minute he was like,
he just turned off. It just shows you what a crazy narcissist he is. Like, how insane. It's just all about him. And he was, like, into it when she was into it. And then he was like, wait, this is getting weird. And he stopped. And then he asked if she was doing his sister's bidding. And I have to say, if anybody knows what that was, I missed that part. I really didn't understand it.
I was really confused a little bit about that too. He was like, what I got from it was he was like, oh, did you think I bought you for my sister? I bought you for me. Another thing about, like, him being like, yeah, you were a present. Yeah, right. You're actually mine. Like, I thought it was one of those
like
things.
She was doing it for, I get it. Now I know what you mean. She was having sex with him even though he had bought her, but she was doing it on behalf of her sister.
Yeah.
His sister. Mm-hmm. Whereas he thought he was, like, the top one on the totem pole.
Yeah, I think that was part of it. And I know that she mentioned in the tub about, I think, teaching Khaleesi something. And he was like, no.
Yeah.
And so It was very strange. I will say that they talk about dragons an awful lot. And it just makes me think, like...
What's the big deal about him being the last dragon?
It actually makes me think that, like they are all, keep saying, like, the dragons are gone, the dragons are gone. Are the dragons gone?
I don't think they are.
They just talk about it so much. Every episode, it's like dragon blood, dragon eggs, dragon happiness, dragon...
No,
everywhere.
we're gonna have to see a dragon. They
Some.
can't be talking about the dragons and but we didn't hear about any White Walkers this week. There no White Walkers, no mention of them, nothing, zip, zero.
Not really.
No, but lots of dragon talk, and after that scene ended in the bathroom, he like basically beats her, and then brings her to his sister, and she's like, "What are you doing? What is going on? This is crazy." And I love that she takes the power back.
Mm-hmm. And she has some wonderful lines.
Mm-hmm.
It first starts out where she's like, "Oh, I was just inviting you to dinner. Look what I got." And she like got him this nice leather vest present.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And he's like, "This is trash. This is horrible." He throws her to the ground. She hits him with this chain medallion
belt thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
And then she just says some great things. She's like, "I'm the Khaleesi. I am the wife of the great Khal, and I carry his child inside me. Mm-hmm. If you lay your hands on me again, it'll be the last time you have hands." And it's like she just stood up for herself, and he's whimpering on the ground. And it was just, I was like, there you go. She's just getting more and more in her own.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see her arrive there. And in the next scene, I love it that she's finally just come to the place where she's like, "Oh, yeah. Wow, my brother, even if he was the leader, he wouldn't win with the army that I give him. It's just not going to happen." And it was like, I'm so glad you're coming to this conclusion now.
Yeah.
Before you send like an army off to war.
And she like realizes that he would be a horrible king.
Yes.
She's like, the knight goes, "Truth now. Would you want your brother to sit on the throne?" And she's like, No. Because that'd be miserable.
He's not a good person.
No.
He's a terrible individual. It's sad to say, but I'm like looking forward to when he's gone. I'm like, yeah, and if you want to kill a character off, it would be that one.
That one. Although he is some entertainment sometimes. Just seeing him get knocked down is entertainment.
It's true. Like I do enjoy that, but he has no likable or redeeming qualities. He is the complete antithesis of Lord Snow.
Yes, he is definitely not the strongest man in the bunch. He is kind of a wimp and a child and horrible.
Yeah, but I guess we need him to give shape to the other characters, so he can stick around for now. But I think we wrapped everything up. I'm trying to think if there's anything that we missed today.
Should we go to commercial before we do some predictions?
Let's do that.
Want to find out what the AfterBuzz is about?
Janice is a drama queen.
This is the divide that is going to carry the series.
Give us a call. 424-256-1729. 424-256-1729.
It's television, and they want it to be as dramatic as possible.
I mean, it's Shakespearean.
You never know what goes on behind closed doors.
Find out why AfterBuzz TV is the #1 source for after-show content.
Now, in the eyes of Jimmy, Nucky is a villain.
424-256-1729. 424-256-1729.
I mean, who would you guys rather hear that from? Your husband or your best friend?
The wig will come out.
When the TV show is over, get your AfterBuzz on.
Okay.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Oh my goodness, it's so creepy. Well, we see the imp being carried off by these. Are they knights? I'm guessing that they're king's men. They're the lord's men. They're there to serve.
Yeah, they're definitely have some sort of like warrior status. I don't know if they've been knighted, but they definitely serve.
Men with titles are taking him back to Winterfell to like hang out and basically put him in a jail there. But we see that he offers them money again. There he is with his money, and he says that you know that my family always pays their debts, that we never, I don't know what to say, but you know what I mean.
He's like, come join me. I definitely have a powerful family. Don't deal with this. And I think that I'm predicting that he's going to win some of them over.
I agree. I mean, it looks like it's hard to not predict that when we see it right there in the credits. I'm really curious, God, what happens with Lord Stark in the next episode if him and the king go head to head. It looks like that's going to happen. I would like it to see. This is my prediction for in the next episode, that we're going to find out what Sam is good at. That's my big character prediction for this one, and we're gonna see the king and Lord Stark go head to head, but I just don't know if it's gonna end well for them.
Yeah, I think Ned and Robert are gonna go head to head as well. I mean, it was kind of pointed out. It was interesting because I was trying to figure out what it was over, because I heard a little bit of comments about like you murdering a child. And I was like, are they talking about Arya? Are they talking about Sansa? Like, who are they talking about and what did they do? And I'm like, does it relate to this story? What is that Sansa was told by Peter about the Hound in the Mountain? That's going to be interesting. I think there's some sort of kid situation going on.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what's going to happen to Catelyn if the imp does get hold of her little band of men. Like, if he gets the power and bribes them, what's going to happen to her? Is he going to explain? Is she going to show? I'm thinking she's going to tell them all the proof she has, and we're going to find out if Tyrion the imp was in on it.
Yeah, it's definitely out of the box.
Yeah.
Even though Lord Stark wanted it to be a secret, everybody knows now. Surprise!
Yeah. So I think we're going to find out what the imp's what he knew about it and what he did. So all of his time with that. Also, my long-term prediction is, as I said before, I'm thinking dragons are coming in somehow.
I would love it. What if we end up with like a dragons fighting the White Walkers? Is that how the series will end?
Who knows? It's going to be crazy. I'm just envisioning the Khaleesi Daenerys on this dragon, because she seems to be the most.
Oh yeah, she'll definitely be the dragon rider. Absolutely. This is like some Predator versus Alien stuff going on here.
So that's next. I think that the wall is going to provide us always with some new characters. Like, we're always going to be able to like get new characters through the wall, because they're always going to have people coming in, and that's just great because they can all be so different.
I love that.
I think that I'm trying to think if I have any other predictions.
I mean, I'm done. I've got nothing. My box is empty.
Definitely Cersei's or the son. Some more information about that son. He has to come forth. Maybe Cersei's gonna try and kill him.
I would love that. That would be awesome.
Who knows?
All right. Thanks so much.
From producers Kevin Undergaro and Phil Svitek, engineer DJ Jesse Janity, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. If you have questions or comments, be sure to buzz us at info@AfterBuzzTV.com. And you can find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.